Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Dakota, the place where we untangle the suits to reveal what's really going on. And speaking of suits, MSI Inc. has just updated its playbook, and let's just say they've tweaked the lending game a bit. This filing is all about a major update to their loan agreement. MSI Inc. is basically a big player in providing crucial data and tools for investors and financial professionals worldwide. Think of them as the go-to source for understanding market risks and opportunities. They're pretty important in the global finance scene. So what's the big news? MSI Inc. has signed a new credit agreement that's like a supercharged version of their old one. It's called the Third Amended and Restated Credit Agreement, and it basically means they've got more borrowing power and a longer runway for their loans. This new agreement extends their borrowing ability all the way out to August of 2030. That's a pretty long time, giving them a lot of flexibility for future plans. They're not just kicking the can down the road, they're building a whole new road. Now here's an interesting part before this new loan agreement even kicked in. MSI Inc. already paid off all the money they owed under their old loan. They used money they got from selling new bonds, essentially meaning they started this new borrowing period with a clean slate, no old debts hanging over their heads. The really exciting part is that they've increased their total borrowing capacity from $1.25 billion to a hefty $1.60 billion. That's an extra $350 million they can potentially borrow. This tells us they're confident in their future and need more cash potentially for growth, opportunities, acquisitions, or just to have a bigger safety net. Think about it this way: if you have a credit card and they raise your limit from $10,000 to $16,000, it means they trust you more and you have more power to make purchases or handle emergencies. MSI Inc. is essentially getting a much bigger financial handshake from the banks. Now, let's talk about how they manage this debt. MSI Inc. has a rule about how much debt they can take on compared to their earnings. This is called the consolidated leverage ratio. Currently, the main limit is 4.25 times their earnings, which is a pretty standard and healthy ratio. For a company like this, however, they've added a clause that allows them to go up to 450 times their earnings for about a year after a big purchase or acquisition. This gives them breathing room if they want to buy another company, adding more fuel to their growth engine. They've also changed how they check another important financial rule, the interest coverage covenant. Before this new agreement, they had to check this every 3 months. Now they only have to check it at the end of each 3-month period, but only if their credit rating drops below investment grade. That means if rating agencies like Moody's, S&P, or Fitch no longer consider them a safe bet, then they'll have to report more often. This is a slight easing of the rules, which can be good for flexibility, but it also means they're perhaps a little less cautious with their finances if their credit does take a hit. Another change that's good for MSI Inc. is that they are getting rid of a small extra interest charge of 0.10% that used to apply to certain loans. This is like getting a small discount on your interest payments over time. It's not huge, but it all adds up and shows the banks are willing to offer better terms. The agreement also includes rules that limit what MSI Inc. owns. Smaller companies can just go out and borrow a lot more money without MSI Inc.'s main company giving the okay. This keeps everything controlled and ensures the parent company isn't exposed to too much risk from its smaller parts. It's really important to note that the money borrowed under this new agreement is not backed up by any of the smaller companies MSI Inc. owns. This means if something goes wrong, MSI Inc. itself is on the hook for the entire amount. That's pretty standard for big companies, but it's good to be aware of. So what will they do with all this new borrowing power? MSI Inc. plans to use these funds for general company needs. This can include things like managing their day-to-day operations, funding their working capital needs, which is essentially the cash they use to keep the business running smoothly, and also for making those big strategic acquisitions we talked about earlier. It's also worth mentioning that the very same banks that provided this new loan are also the ones that MSI Inc. has been working with for a long time. These banks have a deep understanding of MSI Inc. business and have likely earned significant fees from them for various financial services in the past. This history and ongoing relationship are crucial in getting these large credit facilities approved. If you want to see the nitty-gritty details of this agreement, you can find the full document attached as Exhibit 10. One to this report, it's like the official rulebook for the loan. This part simply confirms that MSI Inc. has indeed entered into a new financial commitment, which is exactly what we've been discussing. And finally, this section just tells us what extra documents are included with this report, the most important being the actual credit agreement itself. Now, looking at this MSI Inc. is clearly positioning itself for growth and stability. They've secured a larger credit line with slightly more flexible terms, which signals a healthy balance sheet and strong relationships with major banks. The ability to increase borrowing capacity and extend repayment periods is a testament to their perceived financial strength and future prospects. However, the slight relaxation of the interest coverage covenant could be a point of attention. If MSI Inc. loses its top credit ratings, this could indicate underlying business challenges or increased financial risk. While the company is still operating with what appear to be sound leverage ratios, the shift in covenant testing suggests a bit more tolerance for financial strain should it arise. The key takeaway here is that MSI Inc. is flexing its financial muscles. They're taking on more debt capacity to fuel potential future growth, which is a common strategy for ambitious companies. However, like any substantial borrowing, it introduces a level of financial risk that investors should monitor closely. The overall picture is one of a company that's actively pursuing expansion and is being well supported by the financial sector, What are your thoughts on MSI Inc.'s new credit agreement and what it means for their future? Let us know in the comments below if you found this breakdown helpful. Please hit that like button and subscribe to Corporate Decoder for more insights into the financial world. Don't forget to join our Discord channel, also linked in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.